Hello everyone. In this video, let us try to understand sequential models, and also we will get to understand more about recurrent neural networks. So have you ever wondered why do we give preference to sequences? So we all know the meaning of sequences, right? So why is really sequence required, right? Fine. So before diving deep into this recurrent neural network, we have to understand certain kind of stuffs which certain kind of stuffs which are the concepts which really require to know the proper understanding about sequences. So first, let me tell you what are recurrent neural networks. So recurrent neural networks are a class of neural networks that's powerful for modeling sequences. 1 minute. Okay. That is powerful for modeling sequence data such as time series or natural language. So what is this basically? We have a clear understanding about neural networks, right? So recurrent neural networks are also a class of neural networks that is being used for modeling sequence data. It could be time series or it could be related to natural language. Actually, what we are trying to understand here is about the natural language. And also we have a clear understanding about feed-forward neural network, right? So feed-forward neural network. So RNNs are also based on the same principles as feed-forward neural network, except that it takes care of temporal dependencies. So what are these temporal dependencies? It's very simple. In RNNs, along with the input of the current stage, it also takes care of the previous stage's input, right? And also it includes feedback and memory elements, right? So how can we understand this better? So if I give some examples to it, that could be make you to understand in a better way, right? So let me take the next one. Now look at this statement. So basically, the beauty of recurrent neural network lies in the diversity of application. See, whenever you deal with the RNNs, they have great ability to deal with the various input and output types, right? So the first one you can see that I really like the color of my new dress, right? So I really like the color of my new dress. The second sentence is that I do not really like the movie, right? So I do not really like the movie, right? So this is basically a negative statement. So that is what it means. This I like it, this I don't like it, which means this could be positive statement, this could be negative statement. So that is what I have written here. So let us try to understand what is sentiment analysis. So this is basically the task of simply classifying tweets into positive and negative sentiment. So here the input could be a tweet of varying lengths, while output is of a fixed type and size. What does this mean basically? Say, for example, I have, so just take some companies, or you are purchasing some products from a shop. It could be shop, or you can buy from Amazon or Flipkart or some companies, and there could be some forum where you may write the feedback about it, right? So the feedback could be positive feedback. You could have liked the product, or you could have not liked the product, or it could be neutral also, right? Or it could be neutral also. So why it is really essential? Should I know that whether the statement is positive or negative? Yes, we should know that, because then only I can, based upon the customer feedback only, I can develop my business, right? So the output is of a fixed type and size, in the sense it is going to be positive or negative or neutral. But the tweet, there is no, or the feedback, there are no limit. Or see, people may write with the emojis, people may write with the different languages, right? People may watch with the people may write with the different languages. There could be hashtags, special characters, everything, right? So I hope it is clear, right? So this is basically about the sentiment analysis. So now look at the next one, image captioning. So here we have an image, right? So when you look into this image, you can understand that a person riding a motorcycle, and you can see dirt over there, right? So on a dirt road. So here we have an image which we need a textual description. So we have single input, the image, and the series or sequence of words as output, right? So the image might be of a fixed size, but the output is of a description of varying lengths. Do you understand the difference? So here you can say that two are not actually, so here one animal, here one animal, here one animal. So I can see that like the animals are playing in the grass, right? And not only two, it could be three, or this image is not very clear, so it has taken these two as the dogs, right? A group of young people playing a game of frisbee. Two hockey players are fighting over the puck, right? So by looking at the image, by looking at the single input, a series or sequence of words are given as output. So the image is of fixed size, but the output is a description of varying lengths. Now look at this. Here you can see that French was the official language of the colony of French Indochina, comprising modern-day Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia. It continues to be an administrative language in Laos and Cambodia, although its influence has waned in recent years. So if you look into this, it is so clear that it is in English. And if you look into this, this is being translated into French. So what does this basically mean? We have some text in a particular language, let's say English, and we wish to translate in French. So when you take English, English has its own semantic. It may have different length for this. I mean, it would have different length for same sentence. So here the inputs are of different length and outputs are of different length, right? So what I try to say here is RNNs can be used for mapping inputs to outputs. So RNN is used to map inputs to, right, output, right? This is what it is doing of various types, various lengths, and or generalized in their applications, right? So these are the tasks that these are some of the tasks that RNN can do, right? So now let us understand what are recurrent neural network. So now think that the task is to predict the next word in the sentence. Okay, next word. Say it could be, I am going to mall. Okay, so let's say the task is to predict the next word in a sentence. So now that could be tried by using MLP, right? So what happens in MLP? We have an input layer, a hidden layer, and an output layer. So the input layer receives the input. The hidden layer, there will be some activations, right? Activations are applied, and then finally we receive the output, right? So if it is a deeper network, so here what is the activation used? ReLU. So now let's think that we have a deeper network where multiple hidden layers are present. So you can see here, multiple hidden layers are present, right? So here the input layer receives the input. The first hidden layer activations are applied, right? You can see the activations are applied. And then these activations are sent to the next hidden layer, and successive activations are passed through the layers so that we are getting the output. So each hidden layer, you can see different weights and biases. W1, B1, W2, B2, W3, B3, right? So each hidden layer has its own weights and biases. So each so that what will happen now, each hidden layer has own weights and activations, so everything behaves independently, right? Now the objective is to identify the relationship between the successive inputs, right? So can we supply the inputs to the hidden layers? Yes, we can do that, right? So in this case, what we observed is weights, biases of the hidden layers are different. And so each of the layer behave independently and it cannot be combined together. So if we want to combine all these hidden layers together, we should have the same weights and biases for the hidden layers, right? So now you can look over here, you can see here, like we can now combine these layers together. The weights and the biases of the hidden layers are all the same. You can see that W comma B, W comma B, W comma B, FC1 activation, FC2 activation, FC3 activations, right? So all these hidden layers can be, so now you can see that like we have combined these layers together and the weights and the biases of all the hidden layers is the same. So all these hidden layers can be rolled together into a single recurrent layer, right? So it's like supplying the input to the hidden layer at all the time steps. Weights of the recurrent neuron would be the same since it is a single neuron now, right? So the weights will be the same because it is a single neuron, right? So a recurrent neuron stores the state of the previous input and combines with the current input, thereby preserving some relationship of the current input with the previous input, right? So how does it look like now, right? So let me give you an example now. Let's take a character level RNN, say where we have a word called hey, right? So, or it could be like hello, hey or hello. Why I'm using hello? So that I have the same letters repeated, right? So HELO, right? And just think that, or it could be hey. So let me start with hey now. So I'm providing two letters now, HE, and I ask the network to predict the last letter. So next letter could be what? Y. So I'm asking the network to predict the last letter. So if it is going to be hello, I may give it as HELL. So I'm asking it to predict the last letter. So here the vocabulary of the task is basically here 2, here 4. So in real case scenarios, whenever we use natural language processing, the vocabularies include the words in the entire Wikipedia's database or all the words in a language, right? So how does this basically look like? How does this RNN network look like? The same thing I'm drawing now. So this could be X. What is X basically? It is the input. From this, it's being RNN, right? So you can look over here, and from here, this is no Y, right? So this is nothing but output, and this is nothing but input, right? So here, this is how the structure, I mean, this is what the structure that try to identify the fifth letter in the word hello, right? So here the RNN block, you can see, right? It applies something called as a recurrence formula to the input vector and also its previous state, right? So in this case, the letter H has nothing preceding it, right? So then it take the letter E. So at the time the letter E is supplied to the, so when we give H, nothing is preceding over here. Then we give E, right? So at the time the letter E is supplied to the network, a recurrence formula is applied to the letter E and the previous state, which is the letter H. So these are known as various time steps of the input. So if at the time T, the input is E, at time T minus 1, the input was H. Do you get my point? So if at time T, the input is E, right? So at time T minus 1, what is the input? Yes, you're right. It was actually H. So the recurrence formula is applied to E and H both. So what will happen now? We get a new state. So what is the current state now? Let me write it over here. The current state is Ht is equal to F Ht minus 1 comma xt, right? So what is this Ht basically? Ht is about the new state. Ht minus 1 is the previous state. Xt is the current input. So now we have a state of the previous input instead of the input itself, because the input neuron would have applied the transformations on our previous input. So each successive input is called as time step. So what's happening here? We have 4 inputs, H, E, L, L, right? We have 4 inputs to be given to the network during a recurrence formula. So the same function, same weights are applied at the network at each stage. So taking the simplest form of recurrent neural network, say in case if the activation function is tan H, the weight at the recurrent neuron would be, right. So let me write it. Like for example, if you are saying activation function as tan H, so how does it will change? Ht is equal to tan H within bracket WHH. I'll explain, just be patient. Ht minus 1 plus W XH xt. Let's say the activation function is tan H. The weight at the recurrent neuron is WHH. Weight at the input neuron is WXH. And this is for the equations. We know what is Ht minus 1 and Ht from this, right? Fine. So the recurrent neuron in this case is just taking the immediate previous state into consideration. So for longer sequences, the equation can have multiple states. So once the final state is calculated, we can go to produce the next step, right? So this is what being mentioned over here. Ht is equal to F Ht minus 1 xt, right? So once the current state is calculated, we can find out the output now. So what will be the output? Yt is equal to Why and Ht. So we know what is what, right? Fine. So let me summarize the step now. A single time step of the input is supplied to the network. That is xt is supplied to the network. We then calculate its current state using a combination of the current input and the previous state. That is, we calculate Ht, right? The current Ht becomes now we have Ht, right? So the current Ht becomes Ht minus 1. That is for the previous state, right? Ht minus 1 for the next time step. So we can go as many time steps as the problem demands and combine the information from all the previous states. So once all the time steps are completed, the final current state is used to calculate the output, right? So the output is then compared to the actual output and the error is generated. Now what will happen? There is an error. So the error is then back propagated to the network to update the weights, right? So we know about the back propagation, right? And then the network is trained. Hope it is clear, right? So let me explain everything in short once again. So whenever we handle textual data, the data is always in the form of sequences. And the order of the data is also very important. So for any given sentence, if the order of words is changed, the meaning of the sentence doesn't stay the same. Hence, sometimes there could be a change, right? So I don't say that in all the cases, but in most of the cases, there is a high possibility of changing the meaning, right? So the sentence information is stored in both the words as well as the order of the words in that particular sentence. So in any type of data, if sequential order matters, then we call it as a sequential data. Then we call it as a sequential data, right? So the traditional neural networks cannot handle sequential data. Why? Because in a neural network, for a particular task, we need to set a fixed input size at the beginning. But in sequential data, the size of the data can vary, right? So a sentence can contain 5 words, 10 words, 15 words, 20 words, or could be more than that. So we cannot configure a neural network to effectively deal with this kind of data. So even if we are dealing with the sentences with the same number of words, when we input the processed words into a neural network of some fixed input size, a neural network is not designed to pay attention to the sequence of the words. So the model will effectively learn from semantic information on the individual words, right? So, but it will fail to learn from the order of the words. So to convert textual data into a numerical format, we can input them into neural network. We must convert them into vectors. So this is what we called as one-hot encoded vectors or word vectors, right? So our textual data will turn into a sequence of vectors, which is exactly the format we need, right? So you can see here converting into word vectors. So what is over here? D, learning is hard but fun, right? So hope this is clear, right? So what we have done over here, we have converted word sequence into word vectors, right? We have converted word sequence into word vectors. So now let us understand this in detail. So whenever we have to handle the sequence data, we use sequential models, right? So the most important sequential models that we use in the industry are recurrent neural networks, that is RNN. So what do this RNN have? It has RNNs essentially consider the information of each element of the sequence, as well as the information of all the elements in the sequence before that particular element. So essentially, you can see that there are two input layers, one for the current word, okay, one for the current word, and the other one for the accumulated information of all the previous words, right? So essentially, RNN have two input layers, one for the current word being fed into RNN, and one for the accumulated information of accumulated information of all the previous words, right? So essentially, this is very important, right? So you can see the primary output containing relevant prediction, which we are training the RNN for. So we usually ignore the output until all the words have been fed into RNN, right? So the other output is meant to represent all the accumulated information of the words which have been input into the RNN so far, right? So let us try to understand, right? So what do we do over here? Feed the first word into RNN's first input, right? So feed the what we do over here is we feed the first word into RNN's first input. Since this is the first word, there will be no previous information. So as we have seen in the hello, right? So there is nothing. So here we are talking about the words basically, right? So we will be feed 0 to the second input. So now at this stage, the RNN will output the accumulated information of that word and a primary output. So we usually ignore the primary output of the RNN until all the words of the sentence have been fed into RNN. Then what do? We feed the second word into RNN's first input and the accumulated information into the second input of the RNN. Now what will happen? The RNN will output the accumulated information gain, right? So now this time it will contain both the first word and the second word. This is how the process will be continued until all the words have been fed into RNN, and we check the primary output of the RNN to get the prediction regarding the sentence, right? So the accumulated information keeps getting updated to the RNN processes each word. So the RNN the RNN uses the accumulated information between each step as a kind of memory. So this is what I told, right? Whenever we deal with a sequential, like this point, we have to remember always memory functionality so that it remembers all the words it has processed before. So at the final step, the RNN has essentially processed all the words in the sequence in the exact order which is required, right? So the accumulated information is passed between steps, which is called the state of the RNN, right? So the state means, so whenever we say state, this is essentially a vector of numbers, which is passed between the output of previous step to the input of the next step. So what is this basically? So here I told about state, right? So state means it is just going to be the numbers that is being passed between the output of the previous step and the input of the next step. So when the RNNs, as the RNNs get trained, it will learn to modify the state, right? It will try to modify the state such that it can derive the relevant information about the words it has processed and in the order in which they are processed. So ordering matters over here, right? So that's what I try to say. So the state, the accumulated information in the RNN essentially gives the memory capabilities. Memory capabilities means nothing, right? Hello. So when you give hello, it doesn't have any preceding. I am. So when I say I, this hello is also taken into account. That's what it means, right? So memory capability, so that it knows all the words it has processed so far, as well as the order in which they are processed, right? So this is how the inner functioning of this is how the inner functioning of this is how the inner functioning of RNN looks like. You can see that. Okay, so let me explain everything clearly, so that would be really helpful for you to understand. Let me take the pen. Okay, firstly, the current word nth, right? So I'm giving current word nth, right? So this is what you can see, word at nth position. So the current word nth is multiplied with a W1, right? Which is a weight matrix, right? Which is a weight matrix, in the RNN. Now the previous state of the n minus 1, that is being multiplied with the word W2. So another weight matrix in the RNN. So the result and output vectors are all being added. Now this added vector is then passed through an activation function. So why this is being passed through activation function? So that we can add non-linearity, right? So that we can add non-linearity to that model, right? So we can use tanh activation function for RNN. So after the activation function, we have got the new state now, right? After the activation function, we will be getting the new state now. Now the new state is being multiplied with this W3, another weight matrix, to get the final output of the RNN. So the final output is disregarded until all the words have been processed by RNN, right? So I hope this is clear, right? So this is what being given over here, right? So we should have a clear idea about it, right? So first the current word is multiplied with a W1, then the previous state is multiplied with a W2, and then this get added. Then we apply to activation function. After activation function, new state is multiplied with a W3, and finally we get the output. So in the case of sequential model, see, please understand this part actually. Since we are feeding the sequence of words into the RNN, the state gets updated for each word being input. So as a result, the state represents the representation of the words which have been processed so far. And since the state gets updated in a sequential manner, so the state will also contain information about the order of the words as well as the order themselves. So say for example, I'm saying something like, okay, I love statistics. Okay, so just if you take this example, let's consider the states at each step as the RNNs processing this sentence, right? So when I is fed to RNN, the state contains a representation of just the word I. Then we feed love, right? And when I feed this love into RNN, it will update the state which had a representation of just I love, right? As the RNN continues to get the words from the sequence, the final state representation of I love statistics. So this is how it is being working, right? So the final state of the RNN contains both the semantic information of the words in the sentence as well as the sequential information of regarding the order of the words, right? So now we have seen how RNN predicts once we feed a sequence of words. Let's look into how the RNN trains, right? So this is what we are going to see, right? So let's say how to train RNN for a sentiment analysis. So in sentiment analysis, we are given a sentence and we need to predict the sentiment polarity of the sentence. So the output will be either 1, if it is 1, it's going to be positive polarity, or if it is going to be 0, then it is going to be negative polarity. So this is basically a text classification task, right? So let me tell you that NLP is very difficult. Okay, so I'm writing a sentence over here. NLP is very difficult, right? This food is awesome, right? So let me write few sentences like this. So now if you look into this, what will happen? Now the data set has a list of sentences, and they say, for example, I'm getting some sentiments also, like NLP is very difficult. It is giving me negative, which is 0. And this food is awesome, I'm getting positive 1, right? So when I have these set of sentences, their corresponding sentiment scores, we need to train a RNN to give the corresponding sentiment score of a sentence after we feed these sentences to the RNN. So in the case of sequential model, the model is being used multiple times instead of once, like a traditional neural network. Say if there are 5 sentences, 5 words in a sentence, RNN will be taking values from the input to the output for a total of 5 times. So because of this, the back propagation will happen multiple times for a single training sample instead of once. So the back propagation will happen over all the states, and the RNN has taken, and this is basically called as a back propagation through time, right? So initially, before the training process happens, we randomly initialize all the 3 weight matrices in the RNN, like W1, W2, and W3. Then we start feeding the data into RNN, right? So for a single training sample, we feed the entire sentence into RNN, and then we compare the output of RNN with the target output corresponding to the sentence, so that we calculate the loss, right? We have idea about it, right, for that training sample. So here, since in this problem, we are just doing positive or negative, so it is basically, we are using a binary classification problem. So we can go ahead with a binary cross entropy loss function. Then we backpropagate the loss function through all the steps of the RNN from the last word to the first word, right? So this is how this explains the training process for a single training example in the data set. So now when we keep on training the RNN with all the data in the data set, when it happens for multiple iterations, it will learn how to understand semantic information in each word, and also the sequential information in the way the words are ordered to successfully predict the sentiment from the sentence. Okay, now whenever we study something, there could be some problems or limitations with that particular network also. So what are the limitations here? RNNs are definitely better than the traditional neural networks at processing sequential information, but still there are some problems we are facing. One is about vanishing gradient problem, and the second one is about long-term dependencies. So what is meant by vanishing gradient problem? So RNNs perform well with short to medium-sized sequences, right? But when we perform back propagation, back BPTT, right? Back propagation for very long sequences, the gradients have to go through many weight matrices, right? It has to go through many weight matrices before it reaches the first few steps of the RNN. So now what will happen? The gradients will become very small, right? The gradients become very small because the weight matrices are increasing. Whenever the weight matrix is increasing, what happens to the gradients? The gradients become small. So when the gradients start vanishing, this is what called as vanishing gradients. So this is the basic problem, most common problem that we observe in deep learning when the neural network has too many layers. So in this case, it occurs fundamentally when we use an RNN with a long sequence. So it can be considered equivalent to a neural network having many layers. So we cannot effectively, use RNNs when we are dealing with extremely long sequences, because RNN's weight matrices stop getting updated significantly after certain steps, right? So what are long-term dependencies? In sentences, sometimes the semantic links between certain words could be far apart, right? So consider, I have given a sentence like deep learning is an upcoming field in today's technology, but it is very hard. So here you can see that hard refers to deep learning, but these are very far apart. Deep learning is over here, hard is at the end of the sentence. So it is too far apart, right? So in RNN, since the state updation happens at every step, it is very hard for it to capture the semantic patterns between the words which are very far apart, right? So by the time the RNN reaches the word hard, it would not be considering deep learning as much as the recent words it has processed. Even if you give the RNN lots of training examples with a long-term dependencies, the architecture limits the ability of RNNs to capture long-term dependencies, right? So in a deep NLP, researchers have come up with a better sequential models which solve the problems effectively, like LSTMs and GRUs, right? So these are more advanced sequential models, and we will be studying all these in the upcoming sessions. Thank you.